The DMV suspended Grandpa's license, but he wasn't driving. Grandpa walked into the DMV to renew his driver's license. He walked out. Legally forbidden to drive. Little Johnny stared at him. "Grandpa, what happened?" Grandpa sighed. "Apparently, I'm a dangerous driver." Little Johnny looked at him. "You? You drive slower than Grandma's shopping cart." Grandpa wasn't laughing. The DMV clerk had just handed him a suspension notice. "Mr. Johnson, your license has been suspended effective immediately." Grandpa frowned. "For what?" The clerk looked at her computer. "You were involved in a serious hit-and-run accident 3 weeks ago." Grandpa froze. "That's impossible. I was home that day." The clerk shook her head. "Our records show your vehicle struck another car downtown." Grandpa pulled out his phone. "My truck hasn't moved in 3 weeks." The clerk looked confused. Then she checked the license plate. It matched. Grandpa's exact license plate. Little Johnny leaned over the counter. "Maybe Grandpa has a twin." Grandpa frowned. "Not funny." The clerk printed the accident report. Vehicle involved. 1998 Ford pickup. Grandpa's truck. Driver description. Male. Approximately 70 years old. Grandpa pointed at the report. "That's me, but I wasn't there." The clerk continued reading. The driver fled the scene. Grandpa shook his head. "I've never committed a hit and run in my life." The clerk lowered her voice. "Mr. Johnson, there's more." The victim reported seeing the driver's face. "He gave police your full name." Grandpa stared at her. "How?" "I wasn't there." The clerk slowly turned her monitor around. Someone had also provided Grandpa's driver's license number. Little Johnny's expression changed. "So somebody didn't just steal Grandpa's truck. They stole his identity." The clerk nodded. "That's what it looks like." Grandpa immediately called the police. An officer arrived 20 minutes later. He examined the accident report, then looked at Grandpa. "Sir, there's something you need to know. The person who hit the car didn't just give us your information. He gave us your exact home address." Grandpa went silent. The officer continued, "And according to the victim, the driver told him something before running away." Little Johnny asked, "What?" The officer looked directly at Grandpa. He said, "Tell Harold Johnson I'll see him again." Grandpa's face went pale, because nobody outside his family called him Harold. The police officer took Grandpa outside. "Sir, I need to see your truck." Grandpa pointed across the parking lot. "It's right there." The officer walked around it, checked the tires, looked underneath, then opened the driver's door. Everything looked normal. But the officer suddenly stopped. "Mr. Johnson, when was the last time you used this truck?" 3 weeks ago." The officer looked at the odometer. Grandpa was right. The mileage hadn't changed. Little Johnny smiled. "Told you Grandpa drives like a turtle." The officer ignored him. He opened the glove compartment. "Your registration is here. Your insurance is here. Everything matches. Then how did your truck hit another car?" Grandpa shook his head. "That's what I'd like to know." The officer pulled up the accident photos. There it was. A black pickup with the same license plate. Same model. Same year. Even the same dent on the rear bumper. Grandpa stared at the picture. "That's my truck, but mine has been sitting at home." The officer zoomed in. "Look at the windshield." Grandpa leaned closer. There was a small sticker in the corner. A faded fishing club sticker. Grandpa frowned. "I put that sticker there 20 years ago." The officer looked at him. "Then we have a bigger problem. Someone has cloned your truck, or stolen the vehicle itself." Grandpa immediately called his neighbor. "Can you check my driveway?" The neighbor answered. "Your truck is still here." Grandpa looked at the officer. "So there's another truck? That looks exactly like mine." The officer nodded. "And whoever owns it has your license plate?" They returned to the station. The officer pulled up the vehicle registration database. Only one truck was officially registered to Grandpa. But then the officer searched the VIN from the accident report. His expression changed. "This VIN doesn't belong to your truck." Grandpa frowned. "Then whose is it?" The officer clicked another screen. A different vehicle appeared. Same year, same model, different VIN, and the owner was listed as Robert Ellis. Grandpa's face suddenly changed. Little Johnny noticed. "Grandpa, who is Robert Ellis?" Grandpa stared at the screen. I haven't heard that name in 25 years. The officer leaned forward. Why? Grandpa slowly pointed at the screen. Because Robert Ellis was the man who tried to steal my business before he disappeared. Grandpa stared at Robert Ellis's name. The police officer asked, "Who was he?" Grandpa sighed. 25 years ago, Robert worked for me. We owned a small auto repair shop together. Then one morning, he disappeared with almost $50,000. Little Johnny frowned. And you never found him? Never. Until now. The officer pulled up Robert's old records. His driver's license had expired 22 years ago. His social security number was inactive. There was no current address. No bank account. No employment record. Nothing. The officer looked at Grandpa. Officially, Robert Ellis doesn't exist anymore. Grandpa shook his head. Then someone is using his identity too. The officer suddenly opened the accident report again. Wait, the victim said the driver spoke to him. What exactly did he say? The officer read the statement. He said, "Tell Harold the debt isn't forgotten." Grandpa went completely silent. Little Johnny looked at him. Grandpa, what debt? Grandpa stared at the floor. Robert didn't steal $50,000. He stole something worth much more. The officer waited. Grandpa finally spoke. Our business had a secret account, money set aside for a major expansion. Robert emptied it, then disappeared. How much? Grandpa sighed. Nearly $400,000. The officer's eyes widened. And you never reported it? Grandpa shook his head. I thought he ran away. I didn't want my family involved. The officer looked at the accident photos again. Then he noticed something. The fake truck wasn't just carrying Grandpa's license plate. There was a small company logo on the driver's door. Grandpa recognized it immediately. That's my old business logo. The officer frowned. Your business closed 25 years ago. Exactly. So whoever is driving that truck has access to records that haven't existed for decades. The officer immediately contacted the DMV fraud unit. They searched every recent license application containing Grandpa's information. One application appeared, submitted 6 weeks ago. The applicant had used Grandpa's name, Grandpa's birthday, his old address, and Robert Ellis's old identity. But there was one mistake. The applicant had attached a photograph. The officer opened it. Grandpa stared at the screen. His face went pale. That's not Robert. The officer nodded. No, it's someone much younger. Little Johnny leaned closer. Who is he? Grandpa didn't answer. He recognized the face. The officer looked at him. Mr. Johnson? Who is that man? Grandpa slowly whispered. That's Robert's son. And I didn't even know Robert had a son. The police immediately searched the DMV records. Robert's son had used Grandpa's identity, but the detective discovered something even stranger. The fake driver's license wasn't created to steal money. It was created to make Grandpa look like a criminal. The detective showed Grandpa the records. Every false traffic violation, every insurance claim, every vehicle registration had been connected to Grandpa's name. Little Johnny frowned. So he was building a fake Grandpa? Exactly. The detective pulled up one final document. A business registration. Robert Ellis's old auto shop had been reopened. Under Grandpa's name. Grandpa stared at the screen. He can't do that. The detective nodded. He already did. Then the reason became clear. Robert's son had discovered his father's old financial records. He believed Grandpa had stolen the money and spent 25 years blaming him for his father's disappearance. But there was one problem. The detective found the original bank records. Robert hadn't been murdered. He hadn't disappeared. He had left the country voluntarily after stealing the money, and he had left a letter behind. The letter contained one sentence. Harold had nothing to do with it. Robert's son had never seen that letter. The detective found it inside an old storage box. Grandpa read it silently. For 25 years, he had carried guilt over something he never did. The detective then explained the hit and run. Robert's son had used the clone truck to create a criminal record under Grandpa's identity. He wanted Grandpa arrested. Then he planned to take control of the old business property. But the plan collapsed when the DMV noticed the duplicate vehicle records. The son was arrested for identity theft, fraud, and filing false reports. Grandpa's driver's license was immediately restored. Every false violation was removed. The DMV director personally apologized. "Mr. Johnson, you are officially cleared." Grandpa smiled. "Good, because I have somewhere to drive." Little Johnny grinned. "Where?" Grandpa pointed toward the parking lot. "The courthouse." The detective laughed. "Why?" Grandpa smiled. "I want to see if Robert's son left any more surprises." Little Johnny opened the truck door. "Grandpa, after everything that happened, maybe you should stop driving for a while." Grandpa looked at him. "Why?" Little Johnny smiled. "Because apparently, your truck has a better criminal record than you do."